SBC Media.
Welcome to iGaming Daily, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe. Supported by SBC Summit Latino America, bringing together the leadership teams and product specialists from retail and online operators in Latin American markets.
Discover the potential of Latin America's booming iGaming and sports betting markets at SBC Summit Latin America, the premier industry event in the region. Join SBC at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Miami from October 31st to November the 2nd. Register now at sbcevents.com.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending wherever you are in the world listening to this podcast. Today is Thursday, and we are joined by Fernando, Noodt, and Isadora Marcante once again to talk all things Latin America and Brazil. And we've got our flight tickets. We've boarded the plane, and we're off to Peru today. And it's going to be an interesting one because I don't think we've actually touched Peru before, have we, Fernando?
I don't think we have, and it's great to be talking about Peru, which is a country that has been pushing a proper market for some time now, and it has passed the regulatory framework last year, and now it has updated that same regulatory framework. So it's very exciting to see what's going on in Peru and to go through it in, of course, the iGaming Daily podcast, which is, I think, my favorite part of the week. I don't know about you guys, but, well, James, you are pretty much every day on the podcast, so it's pretty much your whole week, isn't it?
So it's the whole week of fun and knowledge, surprisingly enough. Fun and knowledge we'll go with. But yeah, no, Peru will be the conversation of today's episode of iGaming Daily, and we shall not forget the sponsor of SBC Summit Latino America, which is a mere, 2 weeks away? Just under 2 weeks away. All three of us will be in Miami. I'm not looking forward to the humidity, but I'm looking forward to Miami. I really am. And just before we do jump into Peru, we can't forget Isadora, because we are going to talk a little bit about something Brazil, not the... There's not been much movement, or if any movement, to be honest, on the market front, or the opening of the market yet. But you've published a feature this week, which we'll delve a bit more into. I'll leave the viewers a bit of suspense, but Isadora will be talking a bit more about that later on in the show. But the first 10 minutes or so is the first show. So go on, Fernando, kick us off. Tell us a bit about Peru. Why is it the conversation of today's podcast?
Well, first off, like I said before, there's news actually about the regulatory framework for Peru, because they passed a new bill earlier this year in in June. Sorry, they passed Lou. Hope you are listening to this podcast. But what they passed is actually Law 31806, which is an update of a piece of legislation that was approved back in 2022. And that bill, you might be asking yourself, why are they passing a new bill or a new legislation if they already passed another one last year? Well, according to the industry, the law that they passed last year was flawed and needed several modifications, and that's why the government took note of that, actually opened a public consultation process, and actually work in this new legislation, Law 31806, which is the one that was actually approved this year, back in June, and modifies 14 articles and some other parts as well of the previous law, Law 31557. That's the one from last year. And it's very important to bring talk about the public consultation process, because the tourism ministry actually included 70% of the total 772 suggestions received during the public consultation process in the final text. So that's really taking the feedback from the industry and putting it actually into regulation. And I think that's very important. We have several countries actually discussing their own regulation right now, like Brazil, like Chile. And this proves that they need to listen to the industry before they actually enforce regulation, because if not, you'll have to go through your legislation again, like Peru did, and it seems like it's a good thing they did, because the Peruvian Association of Online Sports Betting and Related Activities, which is APADELA, if you listen to the name APADELA, we are talking about this association that congregates like the top operators in Peru, and several other operators also made their contributions, but APADELA contributed with 106 of the total suggestions that were included in the new bill. And with this new regulatory scheme, the Peruvian government hopes to collect over $160 million per year that will help fund different programs in the tourism, sports, and health areas. After, according to the government, having a total handle in Peru of about $975 million in 2022. So nearly $1 billion handle in during last year. So they are expecting to collect 160 million in taxes from this new regulatory scheme.
Mm-hmm. And what's the reaction to the approval been on this new regulation then throughout Peru?
Well, like I said, the government actually put their ears. They opened their ears and listened to the industry and what they had to say. And so the industry actually has a very important role in this new modification, or in this new modified legislation. It is expected that this new regulatory framework will protect the licensed operators and also, of course, the players by creating measures to ensure that they don't get scammed by unlawful companies. And also they protect the operators by not letting these companies or these foreign companies or non-regulated companies compete with them, right? Only licensed operators will be able to compete in this market, so they are protected by this. And actually, Lucia Gando from the SBC Noticias team actually talked to Gonzalo Perez, who is CEO of Apuesta Total, which is one of the top operators in Peru. She talked with him a few weeks ago, and he was certainly happy about this regulatory update. He said it's a positive thing that they have corrected all the gaps and mistakes that there were in the previous scheme, but he also explained that this will allow operators to be treated equally from a tax-paying perspective, right? So every operator will be like the tax. They will be subject to taxes on a level that they can endure. So and he celebrated that that the new legislation actually includes illegal operators in the penal code. I hope my pronunciation doesn't throw anyone off here. We are talking about the laws and everything, right? So illegal operations are included in the code. So they are actually it's actually a crime to have an operation without a license in Peru. That way, only licensed operators, like we said, will be able to sign sponsorships with local sports teams, for example, and also promote their activities. And those that don't comply, they will face heavy fines of several thousands of dollars. Sorry.
I'll just say from the get-go, I am never going to correct you on any pronunciation, because if anyone, well, for the people who are avid listeners of this podcast, me trying to pronounce the simplest of words, it's a frequent occasion all the time on this podcast. But back onto the topic. So with these new changes coming into place, what comes next for the Peruvian industry and the operators themselves?
Well, for starters, you might be thinking, why are we talking about this legislation if it was first approved in June? Well, last week, the government actually issued the regulation for the legislation that was approved. So the specific rules for the segment have been approved last week. They were published by the tourism ministry. So we already know, or by now we know specifically what's going to happen with the betting industry in Peru. And once the new legislations come into force next February 9th, so the 9th of February 2024, the law will come into force. Operators then have 30 days to register before Mincetur, before the tourism ministry. So that's until March the 10th, if I'm not mistaken. And once they get their permit, they will operate under a certain domain to be clearly identified as a legal operator. only those with a license will be able to access the .bet.pe, the .bet.com.pe, or .com.pe domains in Peru. So people will clearly know, and they will exactly know who they are dealing with, right? So you'll see these domains and you'll know, okay, this is a licensed operator. I can bet with this company without any risks, and I'm knowing that my game is going to also help fund different areas like we talked about earlier, like sports and health and education and everything else. This way, with these domains, people in Peru will know exactly who they are dealing with and if they are actually companies that work under the oversight of the Peruvian government, right? With all of that implies in taxes and everything. So operating without a license is actually one of 75 possible infractions to this new legislation, and it's clearly stated in the new regulation approved last Friday. So illegal companies can bark all they want, but it is in fact one of the few tagged as a very serious infraction, and it is actually punishable with several thousands of dollars in fines. So this is one of the few very serious infractions. It's very serious.
Let's go on to the final question about Peru, and then we'll get on to Isadora and your feature. So there's another prohibition that kind of caused an impact, and that's crypto betting. Can you just explain a bit about this?
Yeah, the new regulation actually states very, very clearly that sports betting and online gambling with cryptocurrencies will not be allowed, even though the crypto scene has actually grown quite a lot over the last few years, and even though the bear market has pushed interest away to some extent from the crypto market, there's still a lot of companies that have established in this particular niche. So they have been operating with cryptocurrencies, right? However, in Chapter 2, Article 38 of the regulation, it is clearly stated that one of the prohibitions for operators is to conduct transactions through cryptocurrencies. So this is actually one of the serious infractions, and I'm saying serious because that's how the regulation tags this infraction a company could incur. So as such, it has actually quite a high fine as well. So no crypto betting in Peru starting next February 9th.
Perfect. And everything that Fernando's explained to us, there's even more information on the Noticias websites, and I'll leave the link to the articles in the description below. But I think for now, that's a lot of Peru, a lot to digest, and we'll no doubt return to Peru. But thank you for the summary, Fernando. But let's bring in Isadora, because we've not heard from you for a good old 10 minutes. A feature on Noticias Brazil. Can you just inform the listeners, inform me of what this feature actually is?
Well, it's a very nice feature, actually, with Andreas Bardum, the founder at KTO Group. And in this feature, he starts telling us the story behind the foundation of KTO, which is very nice and is related to SBC, actually. So the group was founded after a question made by Rasmus, so which is really nice to read, and is a really fun story also. And well, in the future, in this conversation, he mentioned the important step that Brazil made towards the regulation of the market. And although he has some things that he doesn't agree with as an operator, and he also tells us how excited he is for SBC Summit Rio, especially because KTO is formed, like a lot of its employees are Brazilians, actually. And Cássio Filter, who's one of the KTO members as well, he is from Brazil. He's a journalist from Brazil, from the south of Brazil, very close to my hometown, actually. So it's a very nice and fluid interview, and with all of the expectations that KTO has on the future of a regulated market here.
Perfect. And we'll leave, again, the link in the description below for the listeners to check out that full article. I don't want to go too much into detail because we want people to go read the article. And we've not finished yet, because Victor Kayad, the business journalist for Payment Expert and Insider Sport, is attending the ESI conference that's happening right now, and he's dialing in as we speak. Hello, Victor. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, James, thank you for having me. I'm all right. Excited to be at ACI London.
Yes, you are there. And what time did you set off this morning? Because you set off from Manchester down to London.
It was quite early. I woke up at 4, so I've been up for quite some time now. Apologies if I'm sounding tired, but my train set off at 6:15 from Manchester. No delays. Everything was all right. I got to London at around 20 past 8 on time. So, yeah, no problems at all with the travel.
I think you're the first person in the UK to not have issues with the train. So congratulations. I think that's an achievement in itself and podcast worthy. But no, like you said, you're at ESI. What time did you get to the venue? Because you're there now.
Around 9ish. I want to say 9ish, might have been a bit later, but around that time.
Oh, so you've managed to embrace everything this morning. And just for clarity purposes to the listeners, it's about 1:15 in the afternoon UK time right now. What's your first impressions been since walking through the door?
The venue itself, it's actually quite small. It's around 4,000 square meters. But I don't know if the listeners can imagine it, but the amount of things that they've managed to put inside the building and the companies and the content is quite mind-boggling. So first impressions, there's a lot to do. And yeah, I'm just starting.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm looking at the attendee list and stuff like that, and it's incredible, kind of the names that they've got. I mean, let me just have a quick look at it now. I mean, you've got PlayStation over there, Ubisoft are there, and then you've also got like EA. You've got speakers from EA, Riot Games, like PUBG Mobile.
All the big names.
Yeah,
All the big names in esports.
As a gamer, man, I am so jealous that you're there. And just the esports team, you've got like Cloud9 and stuff, like Misfits Gaming.
Yep, everyone is here. That's where they should be. You know, it's ACI London, the UK capital's biggest esports event, and we've got UK companies here. We've got international companies here, so everyone is down to party.
Yeah, I hope you're looking forward to the party, mate. Because honestly, again, I am jealous. But there's obviously stuff happening throughout the day. Is what's on your agenda? You know, what can you tell us about what you're looking forward to?
So I've already managed to visit a couple of panels, and obviously my plan for the day is to keep listening to what the speakers have to say. But so far, what I've managed to attend were panels on Counter-Strike 2, the upcoming game.
It's just been released, hasn't it?
Yep. And it was really interesting to hear how esports companies are currently making the transition. So
because it is a big one, because Counter-Strike is a big esports game, and it was a big esports game, and now they transition to Counter-Strike 2.
Yep, but they expect all players to transition to the new game. The logistics behind that is obviously going to be a bit difficult, but the companies are working with Valve, the developer of Counter-Strike. So quite interesting. And other panels that I've managed to attend are we've heard from some companies that are in charge of creating esports venues in the UK. Which is quite interesting, just because of the things they offer to not only professional players but also casual gamers like me and you. I've also heard from esports company Excel. They've collaborated with HSBC, a bank company, believe it or not. So quite a lot of things happening on the UK esports scene, and that's just the beginning. That's been my 3 hours, my first 3 hours, and there's 3 hours more left. So yeah, looking forward to hearing the rest of them.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the agenda now for day one, and I think there's one at 20 to 4, EA Sports FC, a new era. I was so resistant on getting the new EA FIFA, if you want to call it FIFA still. the new title, and I've buckled in, I've bought it. I'm enjoying it, and it'd be really interesting to kind of jump on that panel and just hear the thoughts of EA moving forward now they've lost that FIFA brand, because it was an expensive brand. I mean, I think they were charged £1 billion pounds or euros to renew that license. Is one of the reasons they scrapped it. So it'd be interesting to see how they drop that and how they kind of use that money that they would have invested in the FIFA brand in somewhere else.
Well, listen, EA Sports is a big company. Obviously, there's no point in me telling you that. They've got the resources to do that. If they decided that it's best for them to part ways with FIFA, the football governing body, I think they know what they're doing, and I think that the split will not cost them anything, and if anything, it might actually be more beneficial to them. But yeah, the panel is gonna be hosted later today, so I'm gonna let you know what they say. But yeah, I think it's exciting to have a new game, because FIFA, the video game franchise, has been going on for quite some time now, and it's gonna be interesting to see how FIFA obviously is gonna produce their own game. From what I'm hearing, they're working with game developers themselves to try and continue the FIFA game. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how both of them compete. EA Sports going against FIFA, to monolith organizations. So yeah, the market is going to be interesting.
Definitely. And are you just there for today, or are you staying for tomorrow as well?
I'm staying for tomorrow as well.
Oh, perfect. And anything that's taking your fancy on tomorrow's agenda?
Well, to be honest, I haven't had the time to check tomorrow's agenda, but I'm sure it's going to be as packed as today's, and if not even more.
Definitely. And there's some networking stuff that's happening tonight. I'm pretty sure one of them is bad axe throwing. How's your axe throwing, Vic? You pretty good at it?
Never done it in my life. Never had the reason to do it. So I'm looking forward to trying it out. I'm sure I'm gonna be one of the lowest competitors, or lowest ranked competitors. But yeah, we'll see. And the skills I managed to pick up in London, I can show you when I get back in Manchester.
Yes, I've done axe throwing myself, and what I'll suggest to you is the two-handed approach is the most accurate approach. Just take that into consideration when you do it.
I will.
Honestly, one-hand throwing, they'll be going all over the place.
I will. Thank you.
Cool. Before we sign off, I'm just looking at the agenda for tomorrow, and there's something called Checkpoint Creator Q&A, which is just a discussion where game creators come together as a Q&A session and kind of just looking at the current landscape and challenges they've got to overcome. It'd be interesting to see how much of an impact AI has in that conversation, or how much it comes up. Just want to think about, because that's at 3:30 tomorrow. But Vic, I'm not going to take too much time out of your day here. Like you said, you've already got so much to do. But just thank you for taking a good 8 to 10 minutes out to talk to us. Enjoy the rest of ESI. Again, I'm insanely jealous. So get me some, if there's any freebies from PlayStation or Ubisoft, go grab them for me, bring them back to Manchester.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. I'm gonna head out now to hear the rest of the panels, and yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of iGaming Daily, brought to you in conjunction with SBC Summit Latino America, being held at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Miami on the 31st of October to the 2nd of November. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network. Happy reading.